Right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, excited to be speaking with an individual who's got quite the fight at Unified MMA 40 going down on August the 14th. We've got that vacant Unified MMA featherweight title on the line, and we have Hammo getting in there and testing skills with Neal Anderson and welcoming Neal onto the show for the very first time. How's training going ahead of this one here, man?
It's going good. It's just wrapping up now. It's really, really hard, as it always is training for a fight. So yeah, I'm glad the hard training's over, and now I just kind of got to maintain that. Just watch my weight, and weigh in, and get to business next Saturday.
Yeah, and historically, I noticed you've cross-trained with like Hayabusa and also shaved bears as well. Like, where are you getting in work with nowadays? And also, as an extension of that, like, what's the, I guess, training landscape like, just with the backdrop of the pandemic and some of the restrictions and stuff like that?
Right now, I'm just training in with Shaved Bears at Little Sweatshop there in Sherwood Park. That's the only place I train for this camp. The landscape is, I don't know, man, that we can train when they say we can train. It's kind of, it's been kind of crazy for the last year and a half. Last few months have been good, though. The gyms have been open now, I think, for about 2 months, 100%. So I was able to get a full fight camp in, but before that, it was just kind of, I don't know, it was just pretty much the same as everywhere else. You train when they say you train. It was kind of crazy. So, I don't know, during that time, though, I still got like a little gym area in my basement with a heavy bag and some weights. So even if the gym wasn't open, I was able to get decent training in, just kind of on my own. And with all that being said, though, I think I've had a really good camp, anyways. So I mean, it hasn't really affected my training camp too much. So that's good.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. I guess I just asked that with the backdrop of talking to like Tanner and Christian and stuff like that. And I mean, sort of just what you said too, like the start and stop kind of nature, just like, I guess, see what is allowed at what given time and just work around that. Yeah, curious landscape, but good you're able to get in some quality work, man.
For sure, yeah.
And I'm curious with the dynamic of having a teammate on this card here. I mean, past instances, I've seen several shaved bears on the same card. There's usually like a pronounced sense of momentum there and everything like that. And I mean, Graham Park defending his 205-pound title in the main event on this card. Like, how does it feel to be, I guess, like getting in that work with certain people who are vying for their own goal? Just, the team coming out on the same night, showing out, as it were.
Yeah, it's awesome. We always, it seems like every unified card especially, we always have a bunch of guys and girls now fighting. So it's, I mean, it's a big help when you know that you're not the only one fighting. You know there's going to be other people at the gym pushing hard as well, right? So the whole team kind of makes a point to show up to train. So yeah, I mean, that's really good, right? I mean, in the past, I've been doing this a while, and sometimes it's not always easy to get a lot of good training partners in there every night for an entire fight camp, right? But at a little sweatshop there, that's never an issue, because we've got so many guys that are dedicated to it, right? And like you said, we got one guy that's in the UFC right now, so he's he always trains anyways, right? So there's going to be guys there to help him, because it's basically it's a full-time job, right? So when you got a guy like that who's world class, it's like Tanner, professional, and that it kind of helps everyone show up and just show up for them and do their best.
Well, that's the thing with, shaved bears. It's great to have an example like a guy like Tanner for sure, but it seems like everybody just has that like unwavering work ethic. So it's almost like asking the question of like, oh, how's your camp? It's like with the shaved bears, it's like, well, I don't really stop training. It's like a lifestyle minded kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I guess you could say I had a training camp just because of the COVID stuff, but I mean, there's never, just because, like the gym only, like I was saying earlier, it only kind of reopened full time, I think about 2 months ago. But I mean, even before that, like, we're never not training hard, right? Like, everyone's always in camp, and I mean, me personally, I always like to train. I never take extended periods off unless I'm injured, right? So even if I don't have a fight coming up, I'm always training a few times a week. And with a full-time job, I mean, I don't really know what the difference between training for like a fight camp is and just training regularly. I mean, I'm tired all the time anyways from training, right? Like, it's not like I can train more. I mean, maybe I train 1 or 2 nights more when I know I have a fight coming up, and the training's maybe a little more intense. But I mean, pretty much training every night anyways after work if I don't have a fight coming up. So it's, I don't know, man. When people say fight camp and training camp, it's I mean, I guess if you're doing it full time, it's a little bit of a different story. But when you have a full time job and you're trying to balance it, it doesn't really make it's not a huge difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like you're juggling the things and making it work and stuff like that. I wanted to talk about the, I guess, bit of an opposition switch here, though, because you were supposed to fight Lucas Neufeld initially, and it seems like he had an injury of some sort and withdrew. Can you kind of talk about the timeline of, I guess, when you were made privy to the opponent switch and just the general thoughts on it? Like, was there a level of, like, readjustment that had to be done, or kind of just like, oh, yeah, I'm fighting Majed now?
Yeah, it was just like basically, all right, I'm fighting Madrid now. I heard Lucas was injured. Yeah, I mean, injuries happen, right? It is what it is. I think it's probably about 5 weeks ago, maybe. So it was a decent amount of time out from the fight where I heard I had a new opponent. So I think I've been fighting Madrid for longer than I knew I was fighting Lucas. So I mean, it hasn't really made a difference. Lucas, there seemed to be more, I was a little more familiar with him because I think he's had a lot more fights recently. And I think he had like a little bit of hype behind him. But, yeah, I don't know. From what I can see, I think this is, I don't know if I'd say it. It's definitely just as tough as a fight as Lucas, if not tougher. I think Majid has a lot of experience. I mean, I can't really find much footage on him, but he's been training forever. He has a lot of fights. He has a good record, and he's from a good gym, right? Everyone from that gym. I've never seen a bad fighter out of that gym. But for him to be training that long out of that gym, like, you know he's going to be good. You know he's going to be well-rounded. So I'm expecting, the toughest fight of my career. I think I'd be an idiot to not be expecting that. So I've been training really hard, and yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for a tough fight next Saturday.
You touch on something interesting, though, just like the dynamic with the gyms and stuff like that. There's been quite a few Shaved Bears versus CMC matchups, and the reason I love it is it's the confluence of high-level fighters testing skills, but there's like a very respect-minded, competitive dynamic there. Can you kind of talk about, that dynamic a little bit, just in the broader sense of Shaved Bears and CMC having that respect? Because it seems like across the different matchups, there's that pronounced sense of respect and like, yeah, I'm going to have to bring my A game to get the desired result here.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just that. I think we know that they're very good, and I'm assuming that they think that we're good as well, right? So, I mean, they're probably two of the best teams in Alberta. I mean, they've been around forever, right? They've always been a top gym. So, yeah, I mean, they're respected across Canada. Everyone respects that gym. So, yeah, I mean, I think when anyone fights someone from their gym, we definitely take the fight seriously. That's for sure.
Yeah, and Majed
I can't think of a bad fighter ever from that gym, to be honest. I mean, I don't follow like regional MMA religiously, but I don't like any women from that gym's good. I've never seen them put out a guy that you're like, what is this guy doing here? They all seem to be very, very tough and very well rounded. So, yeah,
Yeah, that is a great point. Like, everybody that comes from that gym and competes usually has a pronounced level of skill. And I mean, yeah, Majed, I mean, he's fought, guys like Ryan Hall and has like an 100% finishing rate. So just, I mean, looking at this fight on paper, I can't imagine it's not, a candidate for fight of the night at the very least, if not the most, electric one of the night.
I don't think he's ever been knocked out in like 16 fights. He's been submitted a few times, but I mean, you look at the guys who are submitting him, and they're really good, right? Like Ryan Hall and Jesse Arnett, and I don't know if anyone else submitted him, but I mean, those guys are good, right? So I'm gonna have to be on my A game for sure.
Yeah, and just with this one being a title fight, I was kind of curious to see that it was at featherweight, though. Not that it's like completely unfamiliar to you, but a lot of like lightweight and 150 catch weight kind of options more so over the years. Was it largely, I guess, the title opportunity that motivated the bit of a divisional shift, or are you looking at 145 as the long-term future as you're like reintegrating into competition and, sort of getting to that point where you're maybe thinking of a like a bigger promotion should you get a victory here?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I knew, like with my record now, I knew that the fights are only going to get tougher, and I've trained with a lot of 55ers over the years, and they always in between fights they got way bigger, right? Like they get up to 180 into the 180s, and I'd never get heavier than 170, right? So yeah, I always figured I could probably make 145. Like I'm pretty tall, but I mean I'm pretty lanky, right? Kind of like skinny and stuff. So my last fight there, which was like 2 years ago now, I fought Shintani, who was the featherweight champ at the time, and I mean I probably should have just fought him at 145 then, but I just didn't know how the weight cut would go. So we agreed to meet at a catch weight of 150, and I weighed in at 149, and I could have kept cutting weight. I mean I was going down. I should have just fought him at 45 because I mean I don't feel great, obviously. I mean you never feel great. But I could have kept cutting if I had to. So that to me was just kind of an indication that I think I could fight featherweight, and that fight went pretty well for me. I thought it was a good sign that if I want to move on to bigger fights, I'm going to need every advantage I have. So I think the smart thing would be to move down to lower weight class where I'd be probably bigger and have bigger reach and a little stronger. So that's kind of why I want to just fight at 45. And I think I'd be fighting at 45 for the rest of my career.
Yeah, and you mentioned Craig Shintani being the reigning featherweight champ at the time. You guys had that lightweight tilt, or I believe it was a catch weight, but in any event, not a featherweight fight. But, I mean, did you talk about him being a champion in that division, and also prior to that, getting the victory over Curtis DeMars, who had also held that Unified MMA gold. So it seems like the title bid is coming at like a great time, and as far as like the momentum that is leading into it.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. For sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And yeah, it seems like you're, like I said before, looking at that, next level. I mean, I saw in the last couple of, Canada UFC Watch, like the volume 2 and 3 on MMA Empire, it referenced you and, both of the go-arounds there. So, I mean, just to the point of, I guess, like, you're looking to get to that next level. You mentioned switching the weight classes. Like, have you, I guess, changed the methodology and as far as, like, a nutritionist or any diet considerations that are added into it, or like how's that been going?
I just basically stopped. Changed my routine a little bit. I kind of stopped lifting weights and stuff a little while ago. Still doing a little bit, but not as much strength type training as I used to do. And just dieted, basically just ate super clean for the last couple months, and I've already got my weight down to lower than I started my water cut from when I fought Tiny there in my last fight. So I don't know. I guess my body's changed a little bit, but that's pretty much the only adjustment I made for the new weight class. But I feel good, so hopefully the weight cut goes well, and I'll be able to perform well at 145 in the fight.
Yeah, and just such a long history with the company too. Like I was seeing, you've been fighting since the 11th Unified MMA event in March 2012 there. So it's cool that you're getting that title shot now, and it's coming to fruition in that kind of regard. Like it seems like the growth with the promotion has been pretty pronounced. Like with KOTC and MFC early on, you had like the 2-2 record. Now you're getting ready to contend for a title, 10-3 overall. Like it seems like great timing and just a cool lineage with the promotion. Can you kind of talk to that dynamic, just the growth with yourself and the organization by proxy?
Yeah, for sure. Unified's always been good to me. They've always been they're a good local show here in town. They sell a lot of tickets, and I don't know. The shows are always they're always fun, even if I'm not fighting. It's always fun to just go check out the show, and I've been like I said, fighting with them for a while now. I think pretty much all my fights since you said there, 2012 have been with them. I don't even know if I've had any fights with other promotions since I started fighting for them. So yeah, it'd be pretty cool to win the belt finally, and as a champion for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a lot of cool narrative elements to the whole thing. But earlier on, you were talking about like just the day job and facilitating training in conjunction with that. I'm kind of curious, like what is it you do for work to kind of, keep the bills paid as you're, sharpening your skills as a fighter?
I work for an engineering company as just like a draftsman. So it's we draw like blueprints and stuff for buildings, like mechanical systems, like plumbing and HVAC systems, that kind of stuff. So it's I don't know. I mean, I've done it for a long time, and I guess it's a good job for MMA because it's not backbreaking labor or anything, right? Like I go to job sites a couple times a week, but for the most part, it's a desk job. So I mean, I'm not dead tired after work or anything. So I still have the energy to train. So it's good in that sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably more like cognitive fatigue, like just using the brain throughout the day more than like a physical. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so I mean that's probably good too. Just like the level, like, are you very analytical with the fights then? Just having like an engineering job, like I imagine there's a fair bit of analysis that goes into all of that. Like, do you find yourself analytical with your fighting as well, or not so much? Like, is there any kind of crossover?
No, not really. I mean, I always have sort of a game plan, but I don't have like a plan A, B, C, D. I don't really break it down too thoroughly. I kind of just have a general idea of what I want to do, and that's pretty much it. I don't think I would say I'm super analytical when it comes to fighting, but yeah.
No, I mean that's totally fair, man. But earlier on, I've made a couple references to like getting to that level, some of the bigger promotions maybe, and everything like that. Like, do you have like a specific like ideal landing point if you had your druthers? Like, are you a UFC or bust kind of guy? Or are you kind of looking at like maybe like say one championship, Bellator? Like, do you have any particular preference as far as like a platform you would want to end up on, or just anything that represents like getting to a proverbial next tier more so?
Well, I mean, I think everyone still kind of sees UFC as the top world-class promotion, right? Like all those other promotions they have fighters that are just as good. I think the general public still kind of sees the UFC as the major leagues of MMA. So I think that'd probably be the ultimate goal to fight there. But I don't know. At the same time, I never plan anything past my next fight. Obviously, you kind of think about what's next, but I mean, if you look past your next fight, it's usually not that good. So I'm just fully focused on August 14th right now, and whatever happens after that, I guess we'll see. But I gotta have a business here on Saturday night first.
Oh yeah, for sure. You got to focus on a dangerous guy in Hammo, and I mean that probably offers some insight into why you're riding that 6-fight win streak now. Just like the level of focus and consistency there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Good to be disciplined and focused. And yeah, this is a killer next fight, man. Really excited for it. But usually when I have fighters on, I generally gauge like if there's like certain genres of music they gravitate towards when they're training. I've also talked to fighters though who it's like whoever grabs the aux cord, put on whatever. I'm not really too picky. Like, is there certain music you're jamming to when you're getting in the work at Little Sweatshop and working with the Shaved Bears, or incidental more so like background noise kind of a thing?
I usually prefer when there's music on. I don't usually pick it. I mean, whatever's on is on. But I don't know. Whenever I'm driving to training in my car, I usually just listen to rap to hype me up. I don't know why. I've always, when I was younger, I was a big rap fan, and I still am. But now that I'm older, I don't know. It's kind of losing its appeal a bit. But it still seems to be the only music that can kind of really get me pumped up to work out or whatever, right? So yeah, I usually just listen to rap, like I don't know, Eminem or Nas or something like that. Avoid training to rap.
No, that's fair. But you were saying the rap's just not hitting the same as of late, kind of thing. Is
No,
there?
man, I'm 34 now. I'm like, no, you can only listen to the big. I don't know, man. Like I have a young son now. Like what am I doing? This is kind of. Some of these lyrics are just kind of degenerate shit. Like, I mean, it's still fun to listen to get you pumped up, but I'm not.
No, that's fair. That's just kind of funny. Like, I've talked to Tanner about some of the music there and stuff like that, and I've referenced some of the rap stuff, and he seems like he's not really as fired up.
He's, I don't know, he listens to like folk music or something. I heard him say. I don't even know what folk music is.
Yeah, we've had conversations about that too. Some of the indie like folk, like hipsterish kind of stuff. I'm into that too. I'm pretty easy across the board though. So good eclectic music tastes over at Shaved Bears there. But you've been really good with your time there, man. And I want to be mindful of the rest of your schedule. So to that point, is there anything you might want to add, like as a parting thought, as we're kind of wrapping up here, Neal?
Just tune in August 14th. Going to be a good fight. Been training hard and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and like I said earlier in the conversation, definitely could be outright fight of the night just based on the previous track records here. Neal Anderson versus Hammo going down Unified MMA 40, and the belt going up for grabs on August the 14th. Thanks for coming on the show and giving some great insights, man. Best of luck with the remainder of the lead up to this one. Hope everything goes smooth, and yeah, just you have a good rest of your day as well, man.
Awesome, man. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
All right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, got a big card coming up, Unified MMA 40. It's happening on August the 14th, and we have a Unified MMA Featherweight Championship bout going in the co-feature. The belt is presently vacant, but that will change very soon. We have Neal Anderson and Hammo getting out there and testing skills, and I have Majed on the show. How's your day going so far there, man?
So far, so good, man. Just doing some work and gonna go hang out with the kids for a bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are they kind of at an age now where they kind of are cognizant of what dad's getting up to, or maybe not so much? Like, is there the understanding of like what you do, like the whole "my dad can beat up your dad" thing, or maybe still too young for that?
Yeah. Well, one of them is a lot older. She's 14, and she's kind of lived at the gym with me the whole time, so you already understand that. And then my other one's young, and he started out young too, coming to the gym, so they kind of are used to it as like a second home, basically.
That's cool. So are they also actively training or just more physically in the gym?
For a bit, and then they got bored, so I can't really push on them if they don't like it, right?
Yeah, no, fair enough. I get what you're saying there, though, for sure. But, I mean, it's a place that does have a family-type vibe from what I've seen is CMC. I'm kind of curious, like, you're still putting in the work at CMC ahead of this one and, getting the insights.
Awesome here. Everybody treats you like family, which is, what you need if you're bringing kids and family here. That's the kind of environment you want, right?
Yeah, great gym and just no shortage of awesome individuals there. Like, how cool is it to have that like kind of friendly, tight-knit dynamic, but also be getting in work with high-level martial artists there?
Oh yeah, it's good. There's a lot of high-level guys here that kind of push you to the limits and kind of see where you're at, right?
Yeah, who specifically have you been working with ahead of this one? Like, have you been getting in some work with guys like Neal Barry and whatnot, just because they have fights coming up?
Oh yeah, our camp is kind of together. Neal Barry's and mine at the same time because, well, we're going for the same goal, right? And we push each other. We feed off each other's energy, and we kind of just keep driving. And then we got guys like Brent Dewsbury, Spencer Ahobi, Tim Tamaki, all those kind of like, veterans are coming and helping us out whenever they can. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, been a little bit for you since you've competed in MMA too, getting up there with the 3 year mark there. Like, what kind of, I guess, fell into place where now felt like the right time to resume mixed martial arts competition? Was it just the short notice circumstance more so, or like what, I guess, prompted the, I guess, shift there out of the dormant period?
No, I had some major surgeries and stuff like that, so I had to wait for recovery. I never really got out of the competition wise. I was just waiting for my body to recover to kind of go back and compete. And I feel like I'm ready now more than ever. So I was like, well, I might as well just jump in and see where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, happy to hear that you've recovered from the injuries and stuff like that. Like, what kind of, I guess, recuperative techniques were you utilizing? Because, I mean, that's such a, key part of the fighter approach, as you yourself well know.
Well, I got knee surgery, so I was kind of doing a bunch of knee therapy stuff and kind of strength and conditioning and all that kind of stuff. Took a bit, but yeah, I'm back at it again, so it's good.
Yeah, and I was actually there for your last fight there, just against Fred Stonehouse. I mean, in the sense of an MMA fight there, and just what a wild tilt that was there. Like, what are your, I guess, recollections about that fight and how?
He was a very, very high level guy, and I was nervous coming in that fight actually, but I was feeling good still, and I knew he was gonna be a tough opponent. And the only way to get better is to fight guys like that, right? You don't want to fight guys that you can just beat up, no problem. You want to fight guys that can beat you up and then still come out on top. That's the kind of fights I look for,
Yeah, and it must build confidence to have such favorable positioning in there with, a guy who's got quite the jiu-jitsu acumen, but you had him in quite a few rough spots there and that kind of sense. Like, how much does that bolster your confidence, just those kind of, I guess, interactions in the fights?
Oh, it's been amazing just because, I knew he was coming in and he was a big ground guy too and stand-up. So I didn't know where he was going to go. And he was pretty dominant on the ground too. And I was in trouble a few times there, but I was able to squirm out of it and get the win out of that one. So, but yeah, the boost, huge confidence boost on that one just because he is really long and tall too. Just like Neal Anderson there, he's the same thing, right? He's a lengthy guy. So kind of come out same style kind of fighting. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I'm just curious on the, I guess, specifics of the timeline as far as when you figured out you were stepping in here, because I was seeing Lucas Neufeld was initially kind of supposed to step into the fold but had to withdraw. I believe he had an injury of some sort. So when did, I guess, this bout offer sort of present itself to you and pop up on the proverbial radar?
Well, Lucas is one of my friends, and I know he was training, and I was training with him to help him get ready for fights too. And then coach came up to me and told me that Lucas hurt himself, and they were looking for a replacement. And it was about the 4 or 5 week mark, so I figured that was more than enough time to get in conditioning shape for a fight. And it has been. It's been perfect. As soon as I found out Lucas can do it, I jumped right in it.
Yeah, not an unprecedented thing for you, just in as far as taking a short notice fight. I saw you stepped in there and fought Jesse Arnett on relatively short notice too. Is there any, I guess, utility you get, any lessons learned from prior experiences taking certain short notice fights, or is there not necessarily that kind of transferable knowledge, I guess?
Well, I don't really think about it. I just think, am I ready or am I ready? And with that short notice fight with what's his name? I didn't feel like I was ready at all for that fight actually, and I just jumped in there because I was in the midst of stuff, I guess you could say. But this is a little bit different. I had more than enough time, short notice, but not quite. I still had more than enough time to train and get ready for this camp. So it's been really good actually.
Yeah, and fighting a guy like Neal Anderson, I mean, just a unified MMA stalwart, a very, exciting guy, pretty well-rounded individual. What are your thoughts on just his overall skill and, what he's bringing to the table in this upcoming fight? Because you were talking before about how skilled Fred Stonehouse was. What skills do you expect to, I guess, match up against with Neal Anderson? Because I imagine he's an exciting test in a certain regard.
Oh yeah, I know for a fact that he's got some good power and reach on him. He's a very good stand-up guy, and I like to bang too, right? We're both bangers, so I'm sure it's going to be a war of just stand-up war. And if it goes to the ground, it goes to the ground. Stay standing, But I do want to test myself against him with, striking, because I know he's very well-rounded, and I want to kind of see where I'm at standing, right? It's basically a way to see where you're at in the competition time.
Yeah, and the stand-up seems like something you have a compounded familiarity with too, just because I noticed you had the pro boxing record, and your last, combative competition was listed as a December 2018 boxing bout there. So, like, how much does, I guess, those experiences do to, I guess, bolster the confidence in the stand-up? Or is it a similar thing I was talking about before where maybe the transfer isn't quite there because it's like a different sport, maybe different nuances?
Well, it's there, but it's not there. I don't know how to explain that, but boxing is a whole different sport by itself, like you said. And even the conditioning, the cardio, the training, everything, it's a huge different than MMA. But at the same time, it's still a fight. So you still get those nerves and everything like that kicks in. So you kind of get that feeling of the fight more, you know what I mean? Like that nerves and stuff like that kick in, and the more you get that, the more you get used to it, kind of thing. So it's nice in that aspect.
Yeah, for sure. I guess just by virtue of competing, there's going to be some level of value you get from it there. But I was seeing an article from Global News a few years back, and I was curious to get some insights on it because it was talking about how you had visited, I believe it was Park Meadows School, and you were talking about your experiences, I guess, immigrating to Lethbridge in the late 90s. Can you talk about that and just some of the experiences with that there and just everything like that, like maybe some of the aspects of the upbringing there and just transitioning to Alberta sort of thing?
Well, the thing was, my kids were going to school there, so I kind of explained to them what it means to be, an immigrant coming to Canada and how grateful we are for that. We came down here in 1990, just my father, my brother, myself, and the rest of our family. We couldn't get a hold of them or nothing. And we got sponsored here by the Canadian government in 1998. And from there, we kind of just came to Lethbridge. We lived in Lethbridge basically our lives, about 22 years now. And, we just went to school and everything here. It's been good. Just the stuff that happened with 9/11 and everything like that, just being an immigrant had a huge impact on us being here, So that was a little different. We kind of had to try and defend ourselves in a way. So I kind of went to martial arts. And, it saved me. Martial arts saved my life, actually, a few times. And I'm grateful for that. And if it wasn't for, the Canadian government helping us, bringing us here, we'll be back in Syria, in the middle of the war. And I would never have this opportunity to fight and stuff like that. So I am grateful. And that's why I try and push myself as much as I can for the opportunities we have. If you don't push yourself, you don't get the opportunities. So.
Yeah, and just speaking to the schools and stuff like that, I think it's important to try to create that, I guess, learning and that understanding of just what your experiences have been and stuff like that. So I imagine there was some level of insights that, those kids got from it, or at least I would hope so, just in the sense of appreciating what you have and everything.
Well, I think they did. I think they appreciated loss. Kids here don't really realize what's going on everywhere, right? Nobody does.
Yeah.
If you don't see it firsthand, you don't know what's going on. Everybody's comfortable in doing their thing. But then when you see someone else's life the way it is over there, right, you get a new respect for life and the opportunities you have here. And then they're more appreciative, And the kids, I think, kind of took that in perspective, and I can see it on their faces how grateful they were for being Canadians as being a foreigner or some live in a different country with nothing.
Yeah, and I imagine the lesson just really got across too, because for you, it's your lived experiences. I think there is some value in reading and taking in certain information about what's going on internationally, but just hearing someone's lived experiences, I think really can, translate the message.
It's a different thing, yeah, for sure.
Is that stuff you still engage in, any other forms of public speaking since, or maybe not so much? Maybe that was a more one-off kind of thing.
Favorite for the kids and stuff like that. Really, I don't really do. I'm not very good at public speaking.
I was gonna say that's curious because I understood you've done some past kids classes and stuff like that, so I imagine there's a degree of public speaking and ideas you have to convey there.
No, I hate talking in public. It's one of my worst fears. I do it just because I have to. Otherwise, interviews, everything like that, I don't like it. I'd rather just do the scrap and then stuff like that.
I was going to say, I think that's a curious concept for a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people would be much more fearful of getting locked in a cage with a trained killer as opposed to speaking in public. But that's curious that you have that perception there.
It's the opposite for me. I'd rather get in the cage and just scrap it out than talk in front of a bunch of people.
But I'm curious though, because usually when I have fighters on, I ask if there's like particular genres of music they're oriented to training towards. I've also talked to certain fighters where it's like the genre of music in the background is kind of incidental. It's just like, whoever grabs the aux cord, I'm sort of fine with whatever. Like, is there certain genres of music you gravitate towards? Is that like an important part of your training, or is it, like I said, kind of incidental more so?
More incidental, I think. It just kind of happens,
Yeah, for sure. Just kind of something in the background. Is the music like a to and from training kind of thing, or just the music in general not as much of a fixture in what you're doing?
Well, it is actually. It is. I'm more of like, I like playing music with the beat. So if I get the beat that makes me want to move kind of thing, it makes me feel good and kind of push it harder. So it doesn't really matter what kind of music it is or anything, just as long as it's got a nice beat to it that makes me want to move.
Yeah, for sure. Just kind of what elicits a reaction from you in the given moment. So yeah, you can't really force it. You just gotta, assess where you're at. But I kind of wonder.
It depends what kind of mood you're into. The music all depends on the mood you're in.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm the same kind of way. My playlist can be all over the place depending where I'm at. But just one of the last things I wanted to touch on before we wrap up here was just I'd noticed one of the earlier fights you had in your career, and also one of the earlier fights in his career too. You'd fought Ryan Hall at that second Challenge MMA card there in August 2013.
Yes, I remember that.
I'm curious to, I guess, just get the recollections you have from the fight itself and just kind of your thoughts on just, seeing where Ryan Hall is at in his career and just like your perceptions on what's unfurled since then. So I guess a bit of a two-parter.
I think I fought him too soon when I did fight him. I wasn't where I'm at today in jiu-jitsu wise, and he was an expert already. And I thought my striking would be enough for him, but I would fight him again right now, and I would beat him right now, in my opinion, like in my head. That's how I am right now. Because of my jiu-jitsu and my ground game has come so far since that I feel like it would be a fair competition for him now, and I would actually put up a good fight towards him. But I think back then I wasn't not enough experience at all. I wasn't ready, and I just kind of jumped in there just because it's a fight.
Yeah, so just more of a cerebral kind of approach you have now and just like short up certain aspects of your game. Like those are the big difference makers in your estimation.
Oh, yeah. Ever since that fight, I've been feeling all my holes and stuff like that because, like, I knew after that fight I had to work on my ground game and I had to get better if I wanted to beat top-level guys like that. And look at him now. He's already in UFC beating, top-level guys. And I feel like if I would have put my time in back then, I would have been the same level as him and kind of competing against those guys too. But, different paths, different roads. But hopefully one day that I get a rematch with him, so kind of get some revenge.
Yeah, but that's interesting. I mean, the level of excitement to get out there and show off, just different skills. I mean, that exists in the context of like what we're talking about with the Ryan Hall fight and potentially running it back. But does that excitement exist with this fight coming up here just because it's been a little bit since people have gotten to see you? I imagine you have a lot of sharpened tools in the proverbial toolbox there that you're looking to showcase.
Oh, of course, this is basically it's going to be a show of showing up my skills. Is basically what I'm doing in this fight. I win or lose, I'm going to show everything I got, and I'm going to put on a good show because I like to make the crowd happy. I'm a crowd pleaser, right? Everybody likes to watch me scrap because they know I like to put on a good show, and this is probably going to be the best show I've ever put on. I feel great. I feel like $1 million, and this is going to be one of the best fights ever.
Yeah, killer venue too, just being at River Cree Resort and Casino.
It sold out so quick, man.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Just like, a lot of great past Unified shows that I've been to, but also the prior history with MFC being there. So just one of the more legendary Canadian venues for sure.
Oh, this is going to be amazing. It's going to be shown around the whole world. I still have family back in Iraq right now. Like, tons of family. And they're all watching live from Iraq. So this is going to be one of those shows where this is my first time actually performing live for my... I never met my mom. So back home, she's going to be watching live for the first time. So I want to put on a good show for her.
That's incredible. So do you have a level of contact with her now, but you've never physically in person met? Is that more what you're talking about, or?
Yeah, so when I was born, I was a year old. We got split up in the Gulf War in 1990. And then from there, we lost contact with them for, I don't know what it was, 30 years or so now, actually. We just got a hold of them 1 year from yesterday.
That's incredible.
And we've been talking to them nonstop, and we found out they're all well and okay. And I got a brother, 2 sisters, my mom, all their kids and family back home still. So it's been awesome. I've been talking to them nonstop. And yeah, they've never seen me fight or anything in like live. So I want to, like, I've been training my ass off just for this reason, actually. I want to show them my skills.
Well, what an incredible story that is, man. That's amazing that you get to have that happen and they can see what's going on. And also, hopefully, the pandemic can clear up a little bit so you can go over there and actually, you know, meet in person and stuff like that. That's really amazing.
And that's the plan, actually. So all the money I'm making off this fight and sponsors and stuff like that, I'm using that money to actually go back home and see them for the first time. So I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly smiling from ear to ear. I think that's probably the best way we can sort of wrap things up here. But just, you know, putting the ball in your court in case, you know, maybe there's a parting thought you wanted to mention that didn't get brought up as we're just sort of wrapping up here, man.
No, I think this is good. I'm super excited for this fight, that's for sure. I've been training nonstop with Neal. Me and him are kind of pushing each other lots, like I said. And it's going to be a great night. I'm super excited. There's going to be lots of people watching all over the world, obviously. So put on a good show and go from there.
Yeah, it's an incredible fight, and on paper looks like could very well be fight of the night there, and people can check that out. August 14th, Unified MMA 40, the vacant featherweight championship is up for grabs in the co-feature when Neal Anderson and Majed Hammo test skills with one another. Thanks for coming on the show and providing such amazing insights, man. Hopefully the first of many appearances, and yeah, just best of luck with the remainder of the preparations here, and enjoy the rest of your day too, man.
Thanks a lot for the phone call, man. You have a good day.